Safe Place, the record composed and written by one man who goes by the name The Album Leaf. And it's Jimmy LaValle. And he was in a band called Tristetta, and he kind of broke off and did his own electronic stuff. And it's his one-man project, and it's called The Album Leaf. I heard about this guy. He did the music for Mark Kozelek's album, Perils of the Sea. And Mark Kozelek from Red House Painters, and now he's doing this singy-talky diary entry poetry type music, usually with an acoustic guitar. But for this one record that I can't wait to talk about, but it's in the M's, so that's a long ways away. He did a record called Perils of the Sea with Mark Kozelek, and that's how I know about Jimmy LaValle from that album. So I was really interested because I liked the composition and the music off Perils of the Sea. So I picked this one up, and this is his Sub Pop debut, and this came out early 2000s, and I'd never heard of him, but he's good. It's electronic music. It's very sparse. It's beautiful. It's haunting. It's very cold, and it's very sterile. It's a great album if you're in your 20s to make out with somebody to. And if you're in your 40s, it's a great album to kind of sit and contemplate your regrets. So it works for either one of those situations. Jimmy LaValle, under the moniker of The Album Leaf, went on tour with Sigur Rós, and they invited him to their studio in Iceland. And so he's up in this barren wasteland of ice, and he wrote this album. And I don't know if you know Sigur Rós, but they're from Iceland, and they're a guitar-driven band, Mogwai, Explosions in the Sky, and but they kind of make up their own language. They're not even singing Icelandic. They've made up their own language to sing their lyrics in. And he shows up on one of the tracks. It's pretty phenomenal. Jimmy LaValle sings a couple of times. He's not much of a singer, although I didn't mind his singing on the song You're on Your Way. High-pitched, but not screechy, but just monotone, high-pitched, and kind of talking. I thought he was good. I think he should sing some more, but maybe it's just not in him. This album, it plucks, and it gives you, it kind of unintentionally hooks you, and it just plucks, and then it plucks again, and it plucks, and it just starts to form this melody that will earworm itself into your head, and then you're kind of in a trance, and you're kind of following along the music. And it does that throughout the album, and I think one of my main complaints with it, for how pretty the melodies are, is it kind of gets into this pattern. And it kind of rolls, and then it rolls, and it comes back, and then it rolls, and it comes back, and it rolls. And it's just this repeated pattern all the way through the album. And it's almost frustrating because there's never a point where there's just this explosion. You know what I mean? There's never a climax. It feels like there's never a resolution. It's isolated, and it's I feel like that's what the safe place is. And the safe place is where you build up and you build up, but you never kind of open up and let go. It constantly feels like there's a confession of some kind, and it's right here, but you're holding it down. So, it's like you either need to profess your love, or you feel guilty about something, and you can never quite get it out. And I think that's what the safe place is that cold isolation. You know what I mean? And it's frustrating, and maybe that's the point. Sometimes life is frustrating. Some things they're left incomplete without a resolution. And I'm thinking of RX-7 for some reason, where the whole album is confusing, and it's disorienting, and you can't really. But then at the last 2 minutes, after this 45 minutes of like glitchiness, there's this explosion of like this great bass line comes in. It's like a celebration. Or In an Aeroplane Over the Sea by Neutral Milk Hotel. He spends the whole album kind of pining over this ghost of a woman that just can't exist. But then there's like the march at the end of the record, and it's celebratory and the horns are blaring. There's no moment like that here. There's no climax. And I guess that's kind of like, I'm listening to him, and each song, slow build, slow build, slow build, fall apart. Slow build, slow build, slow build, fall apart. And I hate to peg a musician with the label of a one-trick pony, but that's how it kind of comes across. And there's a couple of songs where he does start to explore a little bit, and then you can hear in the music, it just starts to not fit. And so every song has two phases, and he doesn't stray too much. And but in those two phases, they're really good. Really, it's haunting. You know, it's that kind of music. It's haunting. And I just wish that there was a point where it kind of like just blew wide open, but it never will. And maybe that's kind of like, I don't know, out in the sheets of ice, and it's, you know, a low sun, 23 hours a day. Maybe that's what life was like in Iceland when he was there. I did buy another album by him because I'm impressed for all my complaining about his lack of technical ability or composition skill. I was impressed enough to kind of buy another album by him, and it was just the same thing over again. And so this is the only album I own by the album Leaf. It's good enough though. And I put it on late at night sometimes, like when I'm counting my regrets. It's a good Sunday morning record too, if you're kind of like weary about how you spent your weekend and whatnot. I would definitely suggest buying this record. This is the Sub Pop version. It was a reissue. You can see it has this nice, this cover. I'm imagining, you know, a glacier from the top view, and you see his album Leaf logo right here. And then the record itself is, I think that's a 140, and it's a nice clear gray. So, I don't know. I would absolutely suggest buying this album. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I feel like, I hate when a musician shows a lot of promise and then, but can't really, you know, he's good for the triple hit, you know, but he can't hit the grand slam, you know, and I just wish that at some point it would hit a grand slam. But if you like being disappointed, if you like, you know, lack of resolution in your life, if you like being in that safe place where the confession is always right here and it never comes out and you're never vulnerable and, you know, you have no climax, you don't explode in front of people. If that's who you are, I think this will be right up your alley. Very, not dark, don't get me wrong, not dark, but very isolated and haunted and sterile. And I absolutely think you should pick it up. I think this is a great record. So, you know, find someone out, you know, to regret making out with, and drop the album and reconsider your motives on a Sunday morning. So I say buy it. The album Leaf by, I keep it, it's not the album. The album is In a Safe Place, and the man is the album Leaf, and I think you should absolutely own it. I'll talk to you later.